Hi, I'm Kelly Stone with Rising Point Solutions.
And I'm Alan Fetter with Madison Home Guides at Keller Williams Realty in Madison, Wisconsin.
We wanted to come to you today and bring you some information about the housing market. I know every state is different with what they're experiencing, so I want to get some information from you, Alan.
Thanks, Kelly. We are in the state of Wisconsin. We're considered essential workers. The housing market has continued with, of course, some caveats. They're trying to eliminate contact between people. So showings have gone down, actual showings in person. But fortunately, with technology, we've been able to do a lot of virtual tours and things like that. And offers are continuing to be written, and people are continuing to live their lives on a different level and buy and sell homes, which is good because there are people that just need to move and need to get things done. So
Yeah.
we're able to continue doing that.
Yeah, and it is amazing having this technology available to us to be able to do this, like these conference calls.
Exactly. I think it's giving us all a new perspective on how to do business in our modern world, and the
Yeah.
technology is it's pretty great.
Yeah, I definitely agree. So I'm excited to talk to you today. Do you have any questions for me, or what are you seeing in the market? Tell me a little bit more.
Yeah. Look, obviously we're in some uncertain times here. I think I saw this morning that we set a record for the number of filings for unemployment. So I just started thinking about how people are going to be affected in the coming months.
Hmm.
And, it's obviously going to affect my business. And I I think that people will have issues with their ability to buy homes and things like that. And I thought of you and your business. And so I thought this might be some great information for folks as far as their credit is concerned and what Rising Solutions can provide for them.
Yeah.
So maybe the first thing though is, as people go forward, they're perhaps going to take on some additional debt in getting through these difficult times. What are some of the tips that you would give them?
So I believe they just announced that they are coming to an agreement for the National Relief Program, which is great. They don't yet have a date on when those checks will go out, but I think that they are really going to help at least most of the middle income and lower income consumers out there, which is great. So that's going to be really helpful. But like you had mentioned, people are going to start using credit cards more. They are going to start carrying higher balances, which that is typical in that kind of time where we're having issues. We want to make sure that we're putting the roof over our heads, the food on the table, the importance, the essentials, right? But with that being said, we want to make sure that we are continuing to pay bills as normal. You may be nervous about where your next check is coming from, right? We all are. We're all nervous about what's going to happen next moving forward. But the one thing that you want to do is, if you haven't already done so yet, make sure you are contacting the creditors. They are not just going to assume and relieve any debt. They're also not going to give you any kind of forgiveness once you start paying things late. Okay.
Gotcha.
I think that's really one of the most important things to know, because if you start paying things late, they're going to look at you and say, well, you should have reached out. We have
Right.
all these programs, and they are starting to get programs set up. We had a lady in our office that she was concerned with her mortgage. And so she called at the very beginning of this, and they said at the time that they were going to um, not forbear the payment, but they were going to move it to the end, but they were going to mark her being 30 days late. It's
Oh,
important to ask those questions, because if they do report her 30 days late, it'll drop the credit score. Now, with the new programs that they're starting to put in place, the Fed has stepped in. They are requiring that service providers provide different options to consumers, including like a 12-month forbearance. But they're asking the service providers not to report the late payments to the bureaus, or if they or really just hold off on reporting in general, because
right,
we are all in this together.
right.
Oh.
That's a really good point that you made there, though. That you really have to be clear with your creditors,
Mhm.
with especially the banks, the credit card companies, when they say, "Oh, we're gonna help you out here." make sure you understand what that means and how
Yeah.
that might affect your credit going forward.
And that's a great point. And then when you do go through and start making payments, you got to at least make sure that you're making the minimum. If your credit card bill is, $25 minimum, at least make the minimum payment so that you can continue to stay current with them, even if you got to continue to use that card. Increase the limit if you need, right? Don't
Right.
just let it go.
Right.
Um, but going back to the comment about making sure that you know how the service provider is going to report. I also truly believe that documentation beats confrontation every day. And you want to make sure that you are
Okay.
documenting who you speak to. What time did you call? What
Mhm.
date did you call? Do they have an employee number? What was the resolution of the call? Take notes on everything and be very clear. This is the
Okay.
time to know as much as you can, get as much feedback from that service provider as possible. And that would include asking them, make sure to ask, will you be reporting this as a 30-day late payment if I do the forbearance?
Right.
What kind of program options are there? Am I paying interest only? Am I, whatever the case is, ask as many questions as you can, write down all the answers, and just make sure that you're writing pretty much a novel so that you can come back to that and say, oh, no, 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 this is what you agreed on. This is who I spoke to. This was the package at the time. Because sometimes the information does get lost in translation, and we want to make sure that we're staying on top of that, because
Yeah.
we don't want to see people in the situation that they were after 2008, 2009, 2010, where when they finally did come out of the recession, their credit was so ruined from
Yeah.
all that. And these are people that have paid on time 10, 20, 30 years
It doesn't
and
matter.
had this. So
Yeah.
documentation, documentation, documentation.
So the three things that so far that you've mentioned, one is make sure you contact the credit card companies.
Yes.
Make sure that you're clear about what your options are, and that they're not going to come to you. You have to go to them. And
Yes.
then the biggest one I think that I'm taking away from this conversation is to make sure you document everything,
Yes.
because otherwise, uh, you know, a month from now, you could just
Yeah.
forget who you spoke to, what they said, and then they're just telling you, too bad, this is what we're doing. That kind
Yeah.
of situation.
I think I can't remember who it was that I was watching, and it was a comedian, and he said, "Ever forget? Happened to me. It happens to all of us." So just
Really?
making sure that you write it down. What
Yeah.
what did I eat yesterday? I don't even
Yeah.
know.
So unfortunately, we know just that not everybody is gonna take your good advice, or they're just gonna fall into some hard times. It just
Right.
happens.
Right.
So down the road, if someone finds themselves in a situation where their credit has been reduced down and they're in a tough situation, but they're trying to maybe buy a house or a car, whatever it is, what can you do? What can Rising Point Solutions do for them in that regard?
That's a great question. So we start out with education and the restoration process really together. It is all tied together, because if people are not educated in how credit works and what they need to do on their side, because it is a team effort, then the mistakes just keep happening and it's just a cyclical thing, right? And we work to clean up credit, because that negative information is the heaviest thing that weighs people down when it comes to credit score, because the credit report is not a balance sheet of what you owe. It's all about being a history of how you've paid. That's
Right.
why it's so important to make sure that moving forward, those late payments are not going to be reported, because while it is technically a history of how you've paid, I mean, these are unprecedented times. Even in 2008, when the market crashed, it was different
Yeah.
than this whole epidemic that is quarantining us all and making us not able to function as a society together.
Right. Yeah. It is. These are uncharted waters
Yeah.
without a doubt. And yeah, we've never been hit this quickly
Right.
with a change in things, right?
Yeah.
Even though the downturn in 2008 happened relatively fast, there was still like we were all functioning, we were all
Yeah.
working, we were all things were moving.
Mhm.
I certainly in my lifetime I've never seen where it's just been this sudden
Yeah. Yeah.
shutdown.
Yeah.
And
Hey, by the way, all the businesses are closed except for the essentials like grocery stores. Good luck.
yeah, it's tough. So Yeah, I really appreciate your time, and I think this has been some fantastic information for people. And I thought while we're all home and do,
Mm.
we can contact each other and
Yes.
provide information so that people can make good decisions going
Yeah.
forward. And
Now's
so,
the time. Yeah, now's the time to really educate yourself, learn about this stuff,
yeah.
make sure that you're on that better foot moving forward.
And if people do need to reach out to you, what's the best way that they can contact you?
We can put it in the post too. We'll put both of our information in the post when we
Okay,
do it.
great.
But my email address is kelly@risingpointsolutions.com. That's the best way to reach me, and this way we can, get an introduction, get a feel for what is needed.
Awesome. Awesome. Kelly, thank you so much for all that information. It's been really, really helpful, I think, for people out there.
Thank you, Alan. I'm so glad we got to meet today. Thank you for the technology, and
Yep.
I look forward to speaking with you soon.
Sounds great.
Have a great day. Stay healthy.
All right. You too.